Mr. Kwaku Agyemang-Duah, before the COVID, we discovered, or the COVID happened, now it has been described as a pandemic. How was the business environment like, the downstream petroleum sector? How was the environment like?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll just move back to pre-COVID. Basically, for this year, the whole thing started, we come down in March. But prior to that, we were expecting that this year was going to be a very good year. Because we started January, February on a very good note. The volumes were far higher than 2019 with 2018. So we had the premonition that the rest of the year is going to look good in terms of volume. Our business basically we thrive on volume of sales. So we had high hopes. It's part of the challenges that we have, but anyway. But we believe that we're going to make it, get the volumes up so that we can move ahead. Unfortunately, the COVID came. And when COVID came, we started having the volumes dwindling. Some of them, some cases, generally it was down by 33%. But March and April were terrible, as we could see. It's May that we started picking up a little bit, but it's not as we want it to be. So the same challenges, in fact, the challenges that we had prior COVID are accentuated by the COVID also, post-COVID. That is, the main challenges that we had was basically the taxes, the payment of the taxes to government. We had 21 plus 5 days. But I would say, this according to the government, the GRA, we had a negotiation. So as a way of easing up our issues on the taxes, the government has 45 days payment, which somehow helped. We negotiated with MPA. We had a similar direction, which helped. MPA also with the levies. We are just at the point of also negotiating with boss margin as well. So relatively, and there have been ways of having that. But the main thing that we have in the industry still persists. The issue of paying taxes on goods you have not sold. As it were, we pay taxes as we lift the products. So assuming you lift 100,000 liters, for 21 plus 5 days, you have to pay, whether you have sold it or not, you have to pay taxes on the 100,000. So assuming I sell 50,000, is it material what I have down there, which is 50,000, I pay taxes on all of them. And the difficulty is, once you have not sold, how do you get the money to pay? It means you have to go to the bank and borrow and pay the government. So more or less it's like pre-financing the government. And that's pretty difficult in this environment. And because especially in the COVID time, the people who have not been good, their debts. Some of them have not even started, especially the bulk consumers, factories, etc. Some of them are still at their full throttle. So they have not been able to even pay the debts they owe us. And that's a struggle, and we still have to pay. There are contractors prior to that. They owe our people, government has not paid them. So they have not paid us. And we have paid the taxes already. So you can imagine the sweat that we're going through. Those cases that we have not been able to pay the taxes, the GRA will be after us to pay the taxes. And that put us in a very tight situation.
You had high hopes that once you enter into 2020, things were going to be better. Unfortunately, from January was better a bit, but February was also good, and March was better. Are you able to tell us, the volumes that you
I don't have the volume right off my cuff, but I can tell you the percentage decrease. Basically, for the petrol and diesel, in January we were up above 7% for the previous year. February also we were up by 6.7%. By the time March we went down, averagely about 45%. And April was very bad. April were down by 60%. And it's May that we started picking up the volumes now. And so we want to see how it goes. But the issue is we still have debts on our books which makes it difficult to even go about borrowing, let alone paying our taxes. So what we really wish is to work on the basic thing about the taxes that we're supposed to pay the GRA. We need to still renegotiate. But the position is a lot of bulk consumers, factories, even schools have not paid. As you know, the schools are not in session, have not paid us, and we pay the taxes of them. Some of them we are still waiting for them to pay so that we can pay the taxes.
Yeah, you talk about schools. Are you talking about the school that uses LPG?
Use LPG, yes. And you know that the universities use a lot of fuel. They use it. Universities have got a lot of fleet of vehicles which they use for their business.
Yeah, and even generators
Exactly.
and everything.
They are not in session, so of course, no, not to talk about funerals and events that we have weekends. So we are somehow hemming there. So what is happening is that it becomes so dry, especially when we had March and April. It was very difficult paying employees because the overheads were high, but the revenue coming stream was very low. So, but we thank government for bailing us out on power and water, in that period. So that helped a little bit, but on the whole, we still are still in the tantrum, so we are not be able to get out.
Okay. Yeah, I think the last time I heard that the sector employs about 6,000. Okay, I mean the downstream employs about 6,000.
We employ more than that. We have 4,200 outlets. So you make demands. So if you have 8 people per retail outlet, you are talking about 32,000 plus.
32,000.
Yes. Okay. It's a really viable sector. We contribute taxes over 500 million every month. So obviously, we are forced to reckon with. But be as it may, we also have to be able to make money to be able to improve upon their services.
So now that we find ourselves in a COVID environment, in terms of, has it occurred that some of your members have been forced to cut down salaries, reduce employment? Tell us something about
Well, basically, like you said, some of them have been declared redundant. Some employees have not been paid for the past 6 months. Makes it very difficult for people to survive. Besides, also, we are having a recurrent expenditure, something we're not expecting. You have to spend on COVID, these sanitizers, this thermometer thing, and all those accessories for keeping the safety protocol for COVID. It become an extra cost for us. And if you know a business, even when the price is going up, it's still not good for us because the volumes continue going down. It makes it very difficult to really even break even. So that's the situation we have, unfortunately.
Any percentage in terms of job cuts or job losses?
Averagely, they have, I will say this, we are persistently having, I'd rather talk about OMCs who are not lifting products. From March, you're having an average of about 30, 35 OMCs who are not be lifting every month.
Wow.
Because they are in a quiet mode which they cannot even come out. And that goes with the employees that they also have. And those who are persistent now, they are on a thin leaf in the sense that some of them have not been able to pay their workers. The workers are just We're hoping for a better day to come. Because we are all being drowned by the taxes, the levies that we have to pay.
You seem to be painting a gloomy picture, but the public thinks that
it's always a perception. It's always a perception because they see the OMC. People have perception about oil business is like that, but the retail end here we suffer a lot because the margin is very small. A simple example is if you sell fuel for 100 cedis, the retail guy gets like 5 cedis or less. 5 cedis is what he has to take care of all his operational expenses and take something as a margin. See, so that's why you could see, I give you an average of 30, 35. Those who are surviving, you can talk to them. they are really suffering. Those Ghanaian companies who have, you can see them up there, they are really struggling on day to day. You know, how can you pay taxes on something you have not sold? You look at that. Will you do that? No. Imagine if you have not been paid and you have to pay the taxes. Where are you going to get the money from? You have to literally borrow, because if you don't pay, you'll be shut down. You'll not be able to live. So that's the irony of the situation. That's what I'm saying, that going forward, we need to have a discussion with the government and see at least the person gets us. We are not saying we are not going to pay taxes, but we need to make it a little more flexible vis-a-vis our business, so that we can survive to be able to pay the taxes. You know?
But tell me something about the government came out with the COVID alleviation program. I mean, earmarked $600 million to help businesses. I remember that's not part of it.
No, we are not part of it. We're not part of it. Basically, what we have done is what we have negotiated for. Is the GRA extending the number of days for us. We are indeed very grateful. Had not been that, I would have been very terrible.
You said the MP used to be 21 days, now 45 days.
No, no problem, so we have moved up a little bit. There's boss one that we are, you know, boss is really hemming, so we're trying to make sure that we don't also kill boss. In an attempt to help us, all of us die. So we're working with boss also to complete that leg.
The environment has been very, very challenging, the picture that you have painted. Now, how are your members, in spite of these challenges, how are they trying to manage in order not to go bankrupt and even stay in business post-COVID?
Yeah. You see, one of the things that we are happy about is the passage of the Insolvency Act. The Insolvency Act. I think Nigeria has, the president has even accepted to it, which will help people who are really in a situation of bankruptcy, can really avail themselves of the opportunity to come back again.
Okay.
And
you say Insolvency Act?
Okay. Nigeria has been spearheading that. Professor Justice Datema and the rest. So it's a good opportunity for us.
Okay.
But be as it may, I think it's not operational yet. You know, there are few logistical constraints which has to be done by the Registrar General's office. So we cannot even avail ourselves of the opportunity. So what we are doing is that, by and large, we are also discussing with GRA and the Ministry of Finance to see eye to eye with our situation and see how in the interim, medium term, they can help us with these tax issues. We are not saying reduce the taxes, but we believe that if you are going to pay the taxes, it will help all of us. For instance, you pay as you sell. As I sell, I said, I pay you because I get the money, I can pay you. Maybe the money is not there, and I have to pay you. You know, you are a citizen, because if you don't have the law on your side, it's very bad.
That's quite interesting. Yeah, I think one of the recently, because of the downfall of crude oil prices, some people thought that once the crude oil price has gone down on the international market, it must reflect here in Ghana. They want to see fuel prices go down, but that is not what we seem to be. How is the dynamics like? Because people's understanding is that when things are going down.
The dynamics is that it's processed. This is a processed material, and the cost of processing comes in, and also depends on how the demand and supply of that product in the world market. You know, so in the face of COVID, where vessels, some people want to do things on their own country, produce for their own country, and we don't produce as well. Even if we produce all, it's not enough for us in the country. We have very difficult getting the commodity. So because of scarcity, demand and supply, you see the price going up. And when the price goes up in the world market, we have no choice. And this is a full cost recovery industry. We have to pass it on to our consumers. Because if we don't do that, we cannot survive. Imagine we bought something 100 cities, and the time you finish selling it, you're going to buy the same thing, same quantity. It's now 120. What do you get a 20 to add on? You have to go to the bank. And you get a bank because you can't come and sell it lower like 80 cities. You can't, because there's no subsidy in the food. And you're not government. It's a commercial interest. So it's been a whirlwind fashion, but that's the business we find ourselves.
So post-COVID, after this crisis that we find ourselves in, are there lessons that as an industry you guys are learning that post-COVID you think that as a country, not only that sector, but once the downstream sector plays a key role in the transportation industry and even in the electricity supply and all those things, do you think any lessons, we are learning lessons from this crisis?
Yes, I think the basic thing is that it's been taught us so many, some have got different names, domestication, we're gonna be your age, look at ourselves and that kind of thing. Fortunately, we've got crude oil in this country. We must learn to process our crude oil. In such situation, then we use our processed material rather than import it. Then we try to stem the tide of the foreign exchange because now we have to import the whole lot of volumes from Europe, and even that, because of everybody is looking at its own, it's not very difficult to give you the quantity that you need. That becomes the demand and supply effect. You buy it at cutthroat prices, and you have to bring it down to your country with the forest issues. Then it becomes very expensive. If we learn to do that on our own, even with the sub-region, adding Dangote to it, we have economies of scale that we can produce within locally and sell locally. We're going to get it down.
Yeah, I think,
and that's what I like about this petrol now. We need to just consciously work on it. Because of all this COVID, I know that it has delayed a bit, but we need to consciously get it going.
Yeah, recently there was an implementation committee that was formed by the Ministry of Energy. Do you think that this crisis should, compel them to be proactive in making sure that things are fast tracked? Now we are also going to election. They don't know their fate yet. How do we know that we are even going to survive the election to continue?
It's unfortunate that 6 months to the election, it's like everything comes standstill. We forget about Ghana, that's what we were. And it's like we want to go on the political arena, but we need to consciously, because after the election you come back to power and things will become something like you're starting off again, like an engine you're starting off again after 6 months. You need time to heat it up. In that time, and now COVID has taught us that we don't have time. Yesterday I was privileged to be at the COVID infectious disease center being built. It's not like typical Ghanaian projects. You see, everybody's busy, moving around, and even what they are producing, the product is, I would say, world class, top of the notch. And so it tells us that we can do it. Here we had the architects, the engineers, the other secretary, the other staff.
We didn't use them.
Everybody, we didn't use them. But if we could have the same kind of attitude towards the petroleum health, we'll get somewhere. Really, we'll get somewhere. So it's like, for me, it's more of attitude. You see, like we are talking about, we need to really put Ghana first. No matter the conditions, the political thing, after the election, we still have to have an economy. So we need to step up and move up.
Yeah, as we prepare to wrap up this interview, how would you describe the current state of the downstream industry and what would be your message to the consumers out there?
If you ask me to compare, I'll compare where I found it and how it has become. It has become very complicated now. We have moved up, no matter what you say. But there's still a lot more work to be done in terms of, for instance, transporting our fuels. We still go by the expensive way by the road, which really BRB, which is not the best that we have to do. we need to still work on pipelines.
Okay.
Which is Kumasi to Accra, just about 272 kilometers. Let's say give and take should be about 280 kilometers. You should be able to construct a pipeline. It has effect on the UPPF, it has effect on the price, which you can readily give to the consumer. So there's hope. Because when if Kenya people have been able to construct a pipeline from Mombasa, Port of Mombasa, about 500 kilometers, we can do same. In South Africa, they have pipelines there about 300 kilometers. Some of them are even gas, LPG. And so that's why we are delaying. We need to have the sense of transporting fuel at a reasonable price.
Your message to Ghanaians?
Basically, it should be helpful. I mean, the industry is really becoming complex, and will respond to their needs. Because if I knew formerly the OMCs that we had were about 30, way back in 2009, and the OMCs we have were about more than 160. It tells you the competition which is on. And the competition itself brings the price down, which is to the benefit of the consumer. So for the quality and other stuff, we continue to work on them. There are a lot of projects in the pipeline. This is not a political pipeline, but they have all been just subjugated because of the COVID. And we want to have a real-time monitoring of the products so that this smuggling and those other third-party things will go down. It's something we are working on.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Mr. Kwaku Agyemang,
Thank you very much.
the industry coordinator, for having time to speak to us about a whole lot of issues in the downstream petroleum sector. We are grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.